Hello,
Buenas
welcome,
noches.
Victor. I see you in here now. All right, there we go. How's it going, Victor? How you doing today?
Can you hear me all right?
I think
You
so.
there? Is that good? Can
Yep.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Victor.
Okay, cool. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you? How's your afternoon been?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Uh, Good. Rolling along, a little busy, just doing stuff, you know?
It's good to hear your voice, man. It's been a long time.
Ah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's good to be heard, I guess. And you had sent me a list of questions. Is that just kind of like, is that for me to
That's.
peruse or?
I just kind of want to give you some heads up of the questions you might get, and it might not be all of them. So I don't know. I was just kind of giving you a heads up on some. I know Perry's gonna ask some that are not on
I
there probably.
I didn't know if I had no idea this existed, by the way, that you could talk and just communicate with others.
Yeah,
But
neither.
yeah, so just tell me what you want me to do. If you want me to take
Yeah, no, I
questions
mean
or you want
it's kind of a new, like a relatively new feature, I guess, for the platform in general of Twitter. Just something they're kind of testing out. I don't know if you're familiar with Clubhouse at all, but it's kind of a similar platform as this, and Twitter kind of saw it and hopped on board and made it a bit of a speaking feature that they're testing with.
gotcha, gotcha. No, I hadn't heard of Clubhouse either.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess real quick before we get started, because we were talking about this right as you came in, what are your thoughts on tonight's wild card game?
Uh, you know, I'm looking forward to it. Not that I'm ever really excited about seeing a Yankee Red Sox game because all you have to do is just turn on the game on Sunday nights and it's usually on. Uh, but I think overall, I think anytime you get to the playoffs, that's the beauty of it. It's like you just never know what's going to happen. And so interesting that JD Martinez is out, kind of a freak thing, just like Muncie's out for the Dodgers. It just, you just never know. And who knows which Garrett Cole is going to show up. The guy hasn't been very good the last couple times out or the traditional Garrett Cole. So I'd imagine, these one game playoffs, I know a lot of people don't like them. I like them. I think it's, does it suck that you have to maybe win a lot of games to get that one game playoff? Well, hang with them. Win the division next time. That's how I look at it.
Exactly.
So, but I'm glad we're back to normal, quote unquote, playoffs as opposed to like last year was cool and stuff with so many different teams. But I'm glad it's kind of the traditional what we've had over the years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like this. The weird half season I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah, well, I was just happy we had a half season.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than no season, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yeah, so would you want to start talking about the Rough Riders first or back to the Angels first? What's your preference, Victor?
Oh, I don't care, man. You whatever you guys want. You just tell me which way you want me to go.
Okay, I think pretty much everyone in here knows who you are and is an Angels fan, so I think we could probably start with that.
Okay.
Let's see. What was your favorite game that you called while you were broadcasting for the Angels?
I don't know if I had a favorite game. I think the most memorable is still the no hitter, the combined no with Taylor and Felix return home after Skaggs' passing. I think that's just you couldn't script anything better. Um, it was just everything that went into that, even from the ceremonial first pitch by Debbie and uh, Tyler's wife and the like, just to how the night played out. It was just it was magical. I mean, I don't all things aside, off the field, whatever. That was just the most memorable moment I've ever experienced at a baseball field. And I've seen, I've been fortunate enough to be around and partake in quite a few things, and that was pretty magical that night.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. That was an intense day. I remember tearing up on that one. Um, do you have a single favorite play that happened during the games that you called?
Um, as you were asking that question, the one thing that popped into my mind, it wasn't it didn't go the Angels' way. Was it Cespedes in left field throwing out Kendrick at the plate at Angel Stadium? I think it was Cespedes in left field. Some ridiculous one-hop thrower, if I remember correctly. That just stood out to me. Ramon Laureano did the same. Freaking Ramon Laureano did kind of the same thing. He caught the double play at first base. He caught the ball in left center field and then threw somebody out at first base. Those are against the Angels. As far as the Angels are concerned, Trout has made some ridiculous catches, and the one when he climbed the wall is probably one that stands out to me, probably the most. And then Andrelton Simmons had some moments, not the traditional like the sexy jump throws or anything like that, just kind of like the heads up back picks, on a ball hitting the outfield and kind of a pump fake and turning. He was just always everywhere. And just watching him play and make some of those kind of decisions was always kind of fun.
Speaking of kind of being everywhere, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on the shift as a whole and I guess its overall impact on the game?
I don't have a problem with the shift.
Not at all? You don't think it needs to be regulated whatsoever?
No.
No? All right. I'm going out on a limb on this one. I might be one of the only people in here that has such a significant problem with it. So I was hoping.
No, I've heard the discussion both ways. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. I think these guys are pretty talented. I think usually when you have a trend and it's going against you, I think the onus is on you as an individual to change the trend, right? I mean,
slap it the other way, do something.
Yeah, but whatever the case may be, I think it gets overplayed quite a bit. I think it all depends on the individual. I think when you have the David, when the shift really kind of started becoming more prevalent for the big left-handed hitters, the David Ortiz of the world, where you had that guy out in shallow right. Those guys aren't going to change because they are what they are, right? And I think there's other individuals. I think Trouty could beat the shift if he wanted to. I think some probably take it as a challenge. I'm going to hit through the shift. I think pitchers probably have more issues with the shift than hitters do.
Definitely.
Especially guys like, Garrett Cole or Jared Weaver back in his day. He'd rather take his chances straight up than what's going on. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I think overall, when you look at the analytics in baseball, I think information's great. I really do. I think the more the merrier. But to me, it's a baseline. It's a jumping off point because it's all pretty much based on historical data, especially when you're starting to talk about the shift and the way you attack a hitter. The problem that I have oftentimes in baseball games and watching baseball games is that they stick to the analytics regardless of what's happening. And until the numbers themselves can update in real time and in that moment, it's again a baseline, and then your eyes kind of have to tell you what else is going on, right? And I'll give you an example. Angels hitters or any team's hitters are going to approach Justin Verlander a particular way based on historical data. These are the numbers that he has put up against the Angels, number one, in that ballpark, number two, over the last 5 games, number 3. But Justin Verlander that's on the mound that night may not be the same guy that was the basis for the historical data. So if the trend is he throws quite a few 2-strike breaking balls, well, maybe he doesn't have a breaking ball that night. And if you continue to go off of that information without making an adjustment based on what other guys are seeing and
Mhm.
experiencing and what you're seeing, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Same goes with managers with their bullpen management and the decisions to pull guys, not pull guys.
What are your
I
thoughts
think,
on the 3-batter minimum?
you
Kind of
know,
going off that.
yeah, I understand the premise behind it. I think you're handcuffing a manager as to not only a manager, but a general manager as he puts together a team.
Mm.
It changes the dynamic. I've always been a believer, though. My mindset is if you can get one big league hitter out, you should be able to get 2 or 3 of them out.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge proponent of, let's create a left-handed specialist, if you will. I think your relievers should be able to get righties and lefties out, regardless,
Yeah.
whether you're righty or lefty. So that's kind of where my mind is on the analytics. I think they're great. I think the game's better off for it. I think we
Mhm.
all know, especially fans, are a lot smarter today because of it, because they can break things down and understand things in their own way and perhaps in some instances in their own language, which I think is phenomenal. I think
Mhm.
it helps grow the game that way. But I don't think you should ever be married to numbers once a game starts, because that moment is completely different than anything else that's in that historical data.
Mm. You have anything shortstop?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the phone call to stop. Okay. While you were the announcer or play-by-play guy, what was your favorite position player to talk about? And I'm excluding Trout and Ohtani from these options because that wouldn't be fair. Yeah. Besides Trout and Ohtani, who was your favorite position player to see play or talk about?
I love watching Fletch play. I know he had a little bit of a down year this year offensively. He's just a pesky son of a gun. And everybody that I talk to Scott Emerson periodically throughout the year, the pitching coach for the Oakland A's, and he says the same time. He goes, "Man, that frickin' David Fletcher. It's just because you just don't know how to pitch him, right? There's just those pesky guys. It doesn't matter where the pitch. It's kind of like Vladdy back in the day. That means bounce the ball, he'll still hit it. But he was always fun, and I love defensively what David brings to the table. Some of the quickest hands I've ever seen. His catch and release is ridiculous. Whether he was playing third base or shortstop or second, turning a double play, it's just amazing to watch. Howie's inside-out approach, that right center field gap,
Mhm.
it just textbook. I mean, and he never veered away from it. Periodically he'd try to turn and burn on something, but he had that inside-out swing locked in as good as anybody. So those are probably the two guys that stand out. I'm kind of rifling through my brain as guys, going back to, Torrey was always fun to watch, that smile of his. And it's funny, I just got off the phone call with him about a half hour ago. He called. He's got a couple barbecue places here in the North Texas area, and we're trying to get him into our ballpark. So it's funny that he just called. But he was always, he's just an exciting player. I mean, but it's tough gosh, you're living in the shadows of Trout and Ohtani because those two guys are just ridiculous baseball players.
Well, going off of Fletcher, yesterday Perry Manazian said he would not necessarily be opposed to moving him to shortstop next season and just kind of have him be potentially a full-time guy there. Do you think that would be even something to consider, or no, he's the definition of a second baseman, don't even attempt such a move?
No, I think he could play short. I'll be honest with you. When I spoke to Perry after he got the job, and we were talking about the team and kind of getting to know the players. At the time the Angels were looking for a shortstop, and I told him exactly what I'm telling you guys. I think absolutely David could play shortstop. He could, and played adequately. I think he could be a Gold Glove second baseman, but he can absolutely. He's not going to hurt you. He will make most of the plays. There's nothing fancy about him. But he can certainly be that guy if there's another second base option that's out there. But I wholeheartedly feel from a second base position, I think David's unbelievable. I think that's, in my opinion, which doesn't mean a whole lot. I just think he could be an all-star for years to come as a second baseman.
Agreed. You think Marsh next year in center or Trout? What are our thoughts on that? We move Trout prematurely or we let him ride it out?
Where would you put Trout? Right field? Left field?
Or right? Left or right, I guess.
Yeah. Nah, I think...
No, not going to work out?
You're not moving Trout yet, man.
Not at all?
No. I think you flank him with Marsh and Adele.
Flank with Marsh and Adele? Understood. So you got Upton as your fourth?
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. You'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, if you brought those two kids up and gave them the at-bats, I would imagine that the mindset is that would be kind of the game plan going forward. And because you're either going to move them via trade to one of them to get pitching, or you're going to let them finally get to the big leagues. And I don't think there's any better time to ride with those guys on the corners with Mike and center.
Agreed. Short?
Yeah, okay. Halo's in the infield. Are you guys there? I'm not sure which one of you I'm talking to.
It's Fernando. How's it going? Victor, I hope you are well. I got a question for you.
What's up, Nando?
All right. So you now being in the role that you currently are in, I feel like this is going to be a more fun question to ask you. So during your tenure with the Angels, constant moves were made regardless of the general manager who was in charge. Now thinking back to those moves that you got to witness as a broadcaster, which was your favorite move now that you might be able to, analytically break it down a little bit more today?
Man, you guys are making me think on the spot. That's not fair.
We can ask the question if you want to fight Mike Trout baby size or whatever they ask the guy.
Yeah, right.
So I gotta rifle through 11 seasons real quick in my head to pick one out that stands out. I mean, it's hard not to argue with, especially early on with Andrelton Simmons coming over. I mean, just when you get that type of a caliber of a shortstop and a player, I think that's phenomenal to acquire and do so at a price that is club friendly. I know last year didn't play out. Well, last year was kind of a screwy year, anyways, but it didn't play out the way he would have liked, and it certainly didn't end the way that I think Andrelton would have envisioned and or the Angels would have envisioned as he walked away at the very end there. But Shohei, obviously, landing Shohei, I mean, that was like just a straight-up pipe dream. And I think Billy's even said as much in that press conference that, they were floored when he chose the Angels. I mean, just imagine that process where you're putting together a pitch for this, all-world player, and you really have no idea whether or not you have a shot or not, and all of a sudden, it's kind of like he hands you the rose, and I think that in itself was fantastic. I don't know that really. I'm trying to think of, Weave signing his deal and basically telling the world, it's my decision and nobody else's, and I thought that was a tremendous move. I think that was Tony at that time, and not wanting to test the market and kind of doing a club-friendly deal to stay in Southern California. I'm trying to think of anything else that really stood out. I think going back to that off season where we had to do that press conference for the 5 relievers that included Joe Blanton and was it Tommy Hansen. It's like, good God, I remember not thinking back on that. Like, this is what we're shooting out there next year. Good guys, but not good luck.
That's funny.
Not quite Steve Cishek,
No,
not quite a Steve Cishek.
No. So I think that was kind of a little bit of head scratch, if you will, especially since we put on a show for it. We were at the ESPN zone, I think, at Disney, and we did like a half-hour show for that signing. So, or that announcement, I should say. So that, I guess, probably the one that stands out to me is probably not the best PR move, maybe. I don't know, but look, hindsight's always going to be 2020. You make moves at the moment because a number of factors and variables, and you do what's in the best interest of your organization within the parameters that are provided you. And I think each general manager, or Tony, Jerry, Billy, and now Perry, they're all dealing with a different set of circumstances. Not only internally from an organizational standpoint, but also from how a division looks, the competition, and any number of other variables that come into it. So, it's easy to second guess on things, but you're going to hit on some, you're going to miss on quite a few, and that's just the nature of the business. Because even the best GMs and John Schuerholz's of the world, they're in the Baseball Hall of Fame, screwed the pooch a couple of times throughout their careers. It just happens.
Who do you think Perry really goes after this offseason on the mound?
God, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's it's, there's some pretty good options out there, starting with Max Scherzer. The question boils down to, how you attack it, right? Are you going straight free agency? Are you starting to move some? You do have some player position depth, especially at the lower levels. Can you marry a couple of those guys, with something that may be closer to Major League ready to get you a guy that's on the cusp or already in the big leagues to go with, a top free agent? It's just a hard call. What's it going to cost? The other thing too, the other variable that comes into this is that the CBA ends, in December. So what's the new collective bargaining agreement look like? And, how do the rules change? Does arbitration change? Does it go to 2 years as opposed to 3? There's so many things that are still kind of unknown. And that all has an impact on, your budget and your payroll, depending on who you have on your team. So I hate to even begin to guess, because what he could be thinking is different from what you guys are thinking, different from what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? He may be looking at it, and his evaluation process is going to be a lot different than all of us. So I think that's a collective process with Joe and the staff and Perry and his crew, and kind of saying, all right, there's the game plan. Here's the top 5 that we're shooting for. This is how we're going to piece it together and have plan B and plan C, and then just kind of hit the ground running.
Thank you. Okay, John, you still there?
I am, yeah.
All right, it's time for you. Go ahead.
Awesome. Hey, Victor, thanks for being on the space with us, man.
Sure.
Real fast, just like from a personal standpoint, I just want to say that, I appreciated the words that you shared on your way out of the organization, and just, encouraging people to go after what they want in life. And I know you did that when you got into broadcasting, and now you got the GM role. So I just thought that was really encouraging, and wanted to say I personally appreciated that.
No, thanks, man. I've always believed in speaking from the heart, and, I just, circumstances just kind of played out and the way they did. And, like I said, with, Kim ended up having to have, two big surgeries this summer, and
Yeah.
she's going to have 2 more surgeries coming up here on the 21st of October. And I couldn't have imagined being out there and all of a sudden have to take a month off to be here. It just, things happen for a reason. It was the right thing to do at that moment, and no regrets. I mean, I miss a lot of people, a lot of friends, and a lot of fans and stuff like that. But, I needed to do what I needed to do at that point, and, I'm kind of glad I did. I've experienced a lot of things this summer that I've missed out on over the years, and I'm glad I to the detriment of, my career, because it was 18 years and running. And, but I'm kind of glad I made that decision,
Well, you got all of us Angel fans still behind you. We miss you and are supporting you from out here. So just so you know.
I appreciate it. I miss everybody too, and I try to interact as much as possible, and I try to I'm sort of representative of the Rangers organization since we're the AA affiliate. I haven't been with the Rangers in a long time, but I did spend 5 years here. A lot of people in that front office are still there. That from my time, so I have a lot of friends there. So I just try to, I'm cognizant of everything that's going on around me, and I try to support everyone as much as possible without, being too much of a homer. I've never really been a homer per se, but I do miss a lot of the fans in Southern California. You guys were so great to me and my family, and it goes back to such a long time too. I mean, to when my old man was out there in '88, and it's kind of really when actually going back to '82 is when my fandom started with the Angels, because that's when he started working there, and then all that. But really in '88 is when because I was in college at the time, and I was able to soak it in, and just so many connections out there. It's crazy. So I miss a lot of that.
So you're welcome out in the desert. I know you went to college in the desert. I went there also. Not the same time, but
road runners.
Yeah, exactly.
The question
real
I
quick.
had. Oh, sorry, Short.
Well, Victor, I just want to let you know we're at 27 minutes, and I know you said 30, so I don't know how pressed for time we are or how you feeling.
I'm fine. I got a couple more minutes. I can answer a couple more questions. I'm sorry I'm long-winded. Apologize.
It's okay. Okay, go ahead, John.
Oh, yeah. So, Victor, I know you put out your presentation that you made when you were pitching for GM of the Angels, and I was just kind of wondering, we saw Perry draft 20 pitchers and sign 19 of them, so he's kind of addressing that area of concern. What were some of the things that you wanted to address if you had gotten the GM position, and how would you might have done that?
Pitching and pitching, I think, were the top three things on my on the agenda. And this was obviously last year going into this year. Like I said, from a depth standpoint, there's a lack of quality pitching, and even from a position player standpoint, there was a lack of that, except down at the lower levels. A-ball, that we're still a couple of years away, and catching is an issue as far as depth in the organization. Or at least I thought it was at the time. But yeah, I mean, I think the goal, and I'm sure each of the guys and the individuals that interviewed for the position probably made sure that they pointed out the obvious, and that was that pitching needed to be addressed. Both, to me personally, it was on both the major league level and at the minor league level. I'll keep my true sentiments to myself at this time, because there's just no reason to we all have an evaluation process, right? I think as an individual, as a fan, you look at players and say, this guy's got it, this guy doesn't have it. I mean, because it's just your opinion, right? Your thought. I have that. I felt that way, and I shared my thoughts on everyone. Just like I shared with you about David, I thought he could be a hell of a second baseman for 10, 15 years, and that was just one of the things that I mentioned. But I think, pitching was at the top of the list as far as attacking the deficiency at the major league level, and as well as the depth side of things at the minor league level.
Okay, Delta, I don't know what your question is, but go ahead.
Perfect. Hey, Victor, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us here and talk about the Angels. We really appreciate it. My question is more of a branding/marketing question towards the Angels. Do you know if there's a specific reason why we've kept the same uniforms for about the past 20 years and why we don't really use too many throwbacks? Is that something that Artie is pretty adamant about, trying to brand the current logo we have, and why we don't venture with either some throwbacks or even a new direction with the logo and jerseys?
That's a great question. I wish I had an answer for you because I never really had that type of conversation, whether it was with Artie or with John Carpino. Um, I think overall the A, they definitely like the A as it is, and they don't like to mess with it a whole lot. I think they may have tweaked it a little bit on the 50th anniversary. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and that was more just the halo. Um, but I like personally speaking, I like the nostalgia of the throwback uniforms. I think especially when it comes to baseball, because of the connectivity to its past, I think you should always try to kind of live in yesteryear, at certain times throughout the year, so that you can do some connecting things. That 50th anniversary thing, that was my first year, or my second year in 2011. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, bringing back all these guys from all these teams from 61 on and having them throw out a ceremonial first pitch and, seeing grandfathers and fathers and sons, share stories about that player, that year, the 79 team or the 82 or the 86 team,
Yep.
I think that's so cool. And I think it really only, of the four major sports, I think maybe hockey, the original 8 or original 6. I think baseball really across the board has that connection because most teams now are so far removed from their inaugural season that there is history across the board, and but I wish I had a better answer for you. But I think the uniforms are clean. I think the Angels unis are. I think they're super clean. Would I like to tweak? Yeah, just like anything else, update them. Of course, you always want to do things like that, especially after you've seen them for a period of time. But I kind of like their look. But I would like to see more nostalgic stuff. I wish they'd bring back the halo on the hat, man. I like that.
Yeah, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
On the hat,
Yeah.
I thought that's cool. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's nice to hear an answer from someone that was within the organization because this has been a question that's been looming amongst fans for a while, and we haven't really had an answer of why the Angels continue going on direction. I would agree that our uniforms are clean, but I don't know if you know this. Besides the Rays, which is recent, and they usually use more throwbacks as well, we're the only team where every single uniform design we have is the exact same design except for the change in color. Which is unfortunate. Yeah, and I think a little bit a part of that is the fact that they don't want to brand the uniforms with Los Angeles, so we don't have like a jersey that has like our city on it like we used to with the Anaheim jerseys. Yeah. But yeah, we are the only team, except now the Rays, they went that direction, but they usually have a little bit more of a color palette with their jersey selection, so it makes it stand out as different. But yeah, every other team, you either have a variation between the team name or the city name on there or just a complete different design.
Yeah, one of my favorite T-shirts that I have is I don't know if it's a 47 brand, might be a Red Label. I got it years ago, and it's the California Angels logo, the state with the star at the bottom.
Yep.
And it's got the halo hanging from the corner of the top of the state. It's just again, but I like that throwback stuff. So that's kind of like. I'm more into that vintage world, which is why I connect to it so much. But I didn't know that about the uniform not changing. It's just stuff that you don't think about, or at least I didn't think about.
Yeah, I feel like branding's a big part of marketing the team with the design. And like I said, we do have a very clean logo. It's just the fact that we've had it for so long. It would be nice to have something different. One of the big things, and I don't know if you noticed this amongst the games, but we have a blue jacket that was in the shops this year that blew up amongst fans. It was a throwback. It was like a blue type of Leatherman's type jacket. Not necessarily that material, but I mean, everyone bought them. And we all love the retro logos, even with the Disney logo, which I'm assuming Disney might own the rights. I don't know if you know anything about that, but we never really even see the Disney logo get used in any throwbacks. I think it's been a very long time since we've seen them do anything with that logo. And I'm assuming because Disney still owns the rights, but I'm not 100% sure.
Sounds like you're jonesing for the periwinkle to come back.
I'm jonesing for something different. I mean, the blue would be nice as an alternative, or even just a slight alteration with our current design. You know, maybe, I don't know if they want to mess with something cursive, or just like mess around with like the wings logo again too, but just some sort of variation so we don't have the same thing across all our jerseys.
Well, I wish I had a better answer for you, man. But I hear you.
Well, I appreciate you answering the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Delta. Victor, do you feel like fielding one or two more questions? How are you feeling?
Sure, I got 2 more in me.
All right, Bachman season, you're up.
Thank you, Victor, for coming on and taking your time. I appreciate it. I just wanted to ask one question because you obviously have more insight into the organization than even reporters have. And that question is do you, with all this virtue signaling from the front office for like the last 10 years that Artie would go over the luxury tax for the right player, it has to be the right player, but never describe the right player. Did you ever at one point believe that Artie would actually, go to that point in like the modern luxury tax era? Or do you think really that like this is it, like he's where he is with the payroll?
Another good question, and that's something I never really got in depth with him about, to be perfectly honest with you. And as I did the preparation last year, I just I knew what the number was going to be or what the threshold was going to be, and as I kind of crafted things, I took that into consideration. I took into consideration that we hadn't gotten to that point or surpassed it, and so I kind of accordingly came up with in my head a budget for what would have been the 22 year. So I don't, I think, I don't know if it's the right player. I think if it's the team that gets you to the promised land, at least on paper, because you never know, you got to play the games and you never know about injuries and all that stuff. But I think if you're crafting together a 26-man roster that you feel is not just, who cares about just getting to a wild card, but you really have the potential to craft a 26-man roster that you think can compete for the ring that year, I think he absolutely would go for it. Payroll be damned. But that's my gut feeling. That's not any insider information. I know that Artie wants to win just as bad as anybody. I know that for a fact. Same with Dennis, same with John. All 3 of those guys are very tight, and they all feel exactly the same way. They live and die with every pitch, man. I've been on the road trip where I'm having drinks with Dennis afterward, and, it's a tough game, shaking his head and reliving it just like we all, relive it. And so it's certainly not for a lack of caring, because I know Artie and John and Dennis they want to win. At the end of the day, that's all they care about. They want to win. They want a championship. They want to design a ring. They want to celebrate. They want to spray champagne. They want to go to the promised land. And I think that's deep down at the end. That's at Artie's core. Whether that translates into him getting to the threshold or surpassing it, that remains to be seen. But I think if you're on the cusp of, and you feel like you got a chance to really go deep and play for that ring, I think my gut tells me that I think he would.
Thank you for answering the question. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, Perry, you're the last question of the day.
I guess the last thing I'll say, going off what you just said, was what was your favorite city to visit when you were on the broadcast?
Kansas City, because that's where I'm from.
No Gooby bias there? Not even a little bit?
Nah, Gooby. I mean, my old man wore that uniform before Gooby did. No, I grew up in that ballpark. It's like I was shagging BP, in the 70s on that turf and just melting away. And it's just, I don't know, just something about going back to that ballpark. I love it. And even when they reimagined it a little bit and freshened it up, it just kept its core. And I think they're talking about, at least floating the idea of maybe a downtown ballpark, which would also be kind of cool. and I get why they would contemplate that. And I vaguely remember Memorial Park in downtown Kansas City. But I just, there's something about that city, and I loved where I grew up. I just did. And I, it's Americana to me, and it's just so wholesome. And I don't know, the country, that's just, it just pulls at your heartstrings. So that's why I always love going back there, and the people are great. But I mean, it's tough to argue with like cities, and big league cities are, they don't suck. I mean, you're staying at pretty good hotels, you're big league stadiums. They're all fairly new for the most part. Obviously, the Fenway and Wrigley are the only exceptions. And, well, Tampa. I never minded going to Tampa though. That's weird. People complain about the big top all the time, but I like going. I like the hotel. It's kind of an old school hotel. I like St. Pete. Um, I like there's no traffic in and out after a game. I can get to the bar quickly after a game in St. Petersburg because you don't have to deal with 50,000 people getting out of there. Yeah, but it's Kansas City's probably not my number one. My favorite ballpark aesthetically, it's PNC Park in Pittsburgh. It's one of the worst broadcast booths along with Washington, but PNC is pretty sweet. It's a gorgeous little ballpark.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. Are
You got
you, that the last question you're going for today?
If you have one more, what is it, 4:40? I got to get going here, so I got one more in me.
Okay. Perry, do you have another question for him?
No, that was really it. I got to go out to a Frisco game. To be honest with you, that stadium looks gorgeous.
I know. I'm excited. That sounds sweet. We should all go to a Frisco game.
Be cool, man. I know Chuck and some of the folks from Angels Win came out this summer. I think they did a Rangers-Angels game one night, and they came out to our ballpark and were out in the Lazy River for a game. So that was kind of cool. And David Fletcher's dad was out here because Fletcher's brother plays for Amarillo, the Diamondbacks organization. So he was able to kill two birds with one stone on one trip as well. I think that was in August where the Angels were here, and so were the Sod Poodles. So
You're going to poach
so
his
no,
brother pretty soon?
What's that?
Are you going to poach his brother pretty soon then?
Nah, he's a pretty good little player. Completely different guy. Left-handed batter, center fielder. Got a little pop at his bat. Same kind of build as David, maybe a little stockier, thicker, like his dad. But he's a good little player, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the space. Is there anything you want us all to check out that everyone here listening to? Like, I know Big Fly is yours. I'm sure everyone here should buy a shirt. I know the Gene Audrey shirt is nice. That is a good-looking shirt.
Thanks.
I
man.
like that
appreciate
one
it.
a lot. That is my favorite one.
Thank you. Gino, Mr. Autry was really good to my family and just a kind man, and always great to see Jackie at the ballpark when I was there, and she was in her suite next door, and she'd come over and bring her dog over and put it on Gooby's lap, and Gooby would be like, what the hell is going on here? And it was just, those are the little things that I miss, the quirkiness and getting a chance to watch two special players and Trouty and Otani do their thing. And I think, the boys will turn it around. They'll get back to it. And like anything else, though, it's pitching and defense, right? And I think it's bound to happen sooner rather than later.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time, Victor. It really means
Yeah,
a lot.
I appreciate you going
Really
over
means a lot.
the
Thank you.
time. Thank you so
No,
much.
It's my pleasure. And
Good
I
luck.
wish everybody the
Is
very
your
best.
You said your boy's playing Little League tonight?
He's just got high school like a practice game. So
Okay.
he's got a tournament this weekend down in the Houston area.
Well, good luck to him. Obviously, he's going to win that one. So
Yeah, I hope so. Just needs to hit the ball with some authority.
he's got to put it in play.
Middle infield.
Yeah.
He's got to stop slapping the ball around. He's got to drive it. All right, everybody. I wish everybody the very best. I miss you all, and Godspeed. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, Victor.
Victor.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care. All right. Well, thank you all for joining.